Hey everybody, it's Manga Reads, and today I'll be doing my Boruto Next Generation's episode 11 review. And this episode has had a bit of a twist to it because you see what happened was when the episode started, it picked up from last time in some sense because the last thing we saw in the last episode was that the ghost had attacked while Boruto, Shikadai, and Mitsuki were out delivering mail. And then we realized that the class rep got injured. But then we never knew how badly she was injured or anything like that. We did see in the preview for this week that we saw a piece of her clothes and it was wet and everything, like she was out cold, like she had a concussion and she was knocked out or something. So we speculated that she wasn't dead. But then we skipped the entire idea of her getting rescued by Naruto apparently, or the Kage who was nearby, and taken to the hospital and everything being fine. We actually start at her being in the hospital and her classmates being around her asking how she's feeling and things like that. But at this stage, Boruto is not there, and when he gets there, he's essentially blaming himself for what happened. And he was being a bit noisy. And that's not particularly the reason why I think that Sarada pulled him away. I think Sarada, knowing about the shadow, because remember they did fight that superhero together who was also taken over by the shadow. I don't think Sarada wanted her classmates to find out about it, and that's why she pulled Boruto away. And then Naruto comes after Boruto is blaming himself for not delivering the mail properly. And at this stage, you get the sense that Naruto is going to be some sort of a support to Boruto. That's what a father should do, right? But no, Naruto is laying it on Boruto because he's being reckless. And this is what I don't get. Naruto is saying that Boruto should graduate from the academy. Then they can talk about him playing detective. It shows to Boruto that Naruto has been watching him the entire time and knows that the shadow is around, just as Boruto knows about it. Because remember, up until this point, Boruto has never spoken to Naruto about the shadow. In fact, Boruto says that he doesn't want to leave it to his dad and he wants to solve it. However, Naruto does not want Boruto to do that. And I'm thinking, when Naruto was a kid, could Tsunade tell him that he shouldn't be doing that? Hell no. I remember there was one point when Naruto was growing up and he never wanted anything but S rank missions. Like this guy could barely make a shadow clone and all he wanted was S rank and A rank missions. And for those of you who don't know, the top missions that you can get are either S rank or A rank. Everything else falls below. And if Boruto is Naruto's son, then Naruto himself should be able to understand how Boruto feels about this, right? And given the fact that Boruto feels responsible for not doing his job right and then getting the class rep injured, because he's saying that if he had done his job right, then he wouldn't have to be going over his job from the day before because they were delivering the mail properly, and he could have been on the lookout and maybe even intercepted the shadow. But then, the teacher comes to the rescue, Shino, and says that since Boruto and the others saved him, then maybe Boruto himself can do something much more than an adult would. And I agree with this because remember, Boruto is the only one who can actually see the shadow. There are ways that you can determine the shadow is present based on someone's behavior. And this is one thing that I've been noticing, that it happens, and it's been confirmed near to the end of the chapter, that the shadow normally takes over someone when they have some sort of an emotional, it's not emotional trauma, but they have an emotional response to something they love dearly. And remember when Shino was taken over, and this is probably the best example. At that point, he was really taken aback by his class's behavior, like his students' behavior, and he was really sad about it. And he just wanted to be alone. He was frustrated. And it was made even worse when it was suggested by Uncle that he gets help. And that was the point that the shadow took him over, and it's really something that I've been looking at, even though I've not done any reviews to this point. I'm thinking that the shadow can only take over someone who is not emotionally strong. And yet again, it was also confirmed at the end of the chapter. At the end of the episode, sorry. I'm used to doing manga reviews, really. Anyway, they go on to deliver a mail again because apparently the boss at the Tayori Sensei's boss is saying that, you know what, if you don't do a good job this experience, you're getting fired. I'm just like, shit, come on. If you're not paying me, why are you firing me? That it was at that point, you know your boss is serious because he isn't even paying you, and he's like, you know what? You fuck up again, you're getting fired, and I'm just like, damn, this guy is serious. And you could also think that he was going to be controlled by the shadow because remember in the last episode he was really angry about something, and then this episode he seems frustrated before the shadow took him over because he was saying that the mails aren't started properly and was really calm about it, but deep down maybe he was flustered about it, and then that's when the shadow took him over. But that's for later. The thing I wanted to point out now is that the moment that Boruto says that the shadow, because remember Mitsuki was the one that says the shadow appeared again, and when they were at the post office, Mitsuki was saying that the other routes basically were a blind spot. So Mitsuki is getting played into this little by little and more as we go along. And it's when the shadow appeared that Mitsuki is never around. And then when they go on to say that, you know what, we're gonna get help from our classmates. I want to show you a little plot twist here. Because initially I was thinking that Mitsuki was the one controlling the shadow. But when they said that they were going to get help from the classmates to cover all the blind spots afterwards, and the shadow appeared at the post office, that was pretty fun because you could realize that at that point, when they returned after the shadow appeared, that Mitsuki was there. Mitsuki was there with his classmates, but when they were fighting, he was nowhere to be seen. And then when that Ambu guy looks Ambu with the mask and everything that was actually controlling and manipulating the shadow, that guy disappeared and was being chased by Inojin and his friends. When he escaped into the water tunnels, Mitsuki was there almost as if he expected that he was going to be there. So, Mitsuki never attacked him or anything, and then Mitsuki only said that, you know what, I'm sorry, Boruto, but he got away from my end. So, speculation on my part is that Mitsuki is not the one that's actually controlling the shadow, and it's not the one that has anything to do directly with the shadow, but he knows what the shadow is about. He knows about new because there was this one guy who was saying that they're gathering the chakra of the negative people, weak and negative, I think it was that he said, and it says that the time of new rebirth will be here soon. So they're actually working on reviving something. Maybe it's much like the Gedo Manzu where they have to get all the tail beasts, or except this time you have to get a certain level of negative chakra from people that will allow the Ashurama cells to be activated. So this also has been another speculation. Will the shadow affect Boruto? Because remember, the Ashrama cells can be controlled by Naruto and Sasuke. That's why they got the prosthetic arms, right? And that's why a guy couldn't get his legs. And given that Boruto is actually Naruto's son, you would think that he can also control the Ashrama cells based on just his talent and him being Naruto's child. So will the shadow be able to control Boruto as well? We don't know. We'll have to watch and see. But you see, the thing is, when they were fighting at the post office, and the Ambu guy was being cornered by Inojin and the three others, I am wondering, why is it that they never went after the real person? Because remember, Boruto, Shikadai, Boruto and Shikadai, they actually saw the Ambu guy. And when Boruto went to engage him, he disappeared. And Awazef was the post office headmaster who was being controlled by the shadow. So if it's something like puppeteering or puppetry, why go after the puppet when you can go after the puppet master? Because you would think that if you take out the puppet master, then the puppet itself is ineffective. It can't move, it's decapitated or whatever, it's destroyed. So why did they fight the post office headmaster? And you realize that it's not all the time that might can win, because there are times when you need to trigger an emotional response to get rid of the shadow. So it's all about emotions, I guess. It's like a girl. But I don't get why they haven't picked up on that as yet. And there's another thing that's bugging me. Ever since the shadow started appearing, whenever Boruto looks at the shadow, you can see that I activated. I'm guessing it's a Tensei gun because, as I said in my manga, so I don't know what's gonna happen if the manga is even that far ahead. And I don't play the Naruto video game, so I don't know. But I'm thinking that's a Tensei gun. Why is it that whenever Boruto, sorry, is looking at the shadow of the Tensei gun, I'm gonna call it that right now, is activated? Why has no one else seen it? Why? Similar to the Sharingan, whenever the Sharingan appears, you hear a noise, right? And people can look and say, hey, the Sharingan, cool. Why haven't they done that with Tensei gun? It's not a plot hole, but it's kind of one of those things that you're wondering why the characters don't do it to save us some time. I know that the writer is trying to remain coy on it. So I'm just hoping that at the time when others can see it, there's an explanation as to why they weren't able to see it from before. Because then it would seem like we went through 10, 15, 20, or whatever amount of chapters with him activating Tensegan and nobody being able to see it. And if Naruto is so great and such an awesome dad and Okage, I mean, I know he has his flaws. Why hasn't he been able to decipher that maybe it's a Tensegan that Boruto had? Because remember, he did fight Toneri to get Hinata, and I'm going to count that movie as canon because the results of that movie was when Naruto first said that he loved you to I love you to Hinata, and Hinata said the same, and I'm guessing that it was at that point that they decided to get married and stuff like that. So it was important to the eventual outcome of the Naruto plot, and hence we have Boruto now. So why isn't it that Naruto can think and say, hey, well, Naruto wasn't the sharpest brick in the sack, so maybe I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point. But the episode was really good, and I love the plot twist because at first I was thinking that the shadow has to do with Mitsuki, and then Mitsuki comes and say, "Hey, the shadow is there." I'm like, "Yes, it's Mitsuki." And then they went to the post office, and the shadow is there, and Mitsuki is there, and I'm like, I don't know. But then at the end, Mitsuki is there with the guy who is controlling the shadow, and he just smiles as if he understands something subliminal, like they have some sort of understanding from before. And he goes and he says, "You know what? You got away from my side as well. Sorry, Boruto." But it's also important to know that Shikadai is onto Mitsuki. And I'm guessing that is why he outlined that, you know what, we have blind spots in our route. Because when they first went on Route 4, it was a different route than they initially went on. And it was saying that, well, that means that the other routes are blind spots. And then, Boruto summons three other Shadow Clones to cover the other routes. And they were like, nah, nigga, we can't help you because we got to see you. It's almost as if they were taunting Boruto. And then you have to notice the reaction in Mitsuki's face when he says that they have a blind spot. And it's the same thing that happened when they implied that the blind spot was going to be at the post office. So Shikadai is onto him. It was also confirmed that Shikadai suspects him when Shino sensei was also taken over by the Shadow. Because they were saying that the Shadow, who was controlling Shino sensei, was actually going after him, Shikadai, and Boruto. But Mitsuki is already breaking a sweat. He even says that at one point that you've already broken a sweat. So, I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. But its development, it leaves a bit to the imagination, leaves a bit of question because I'm still wondering why no one sees Boruto's eye when he sees a shadow. And it's kind of stupid to go after the puppet when you could have gone after the puppet master, and even them themselves actually suggested that at one point. But it's been really good, and I'm enjoying what's happening. I'm going to give the author, or the mangaka in this time, I'm going to give him time to get his ideas together and put the plot together real nice. And then when we have a big revelation, it will be fun. And I'll see you at that point. So you know what, guys? I'd like to thank you for watching, and I appreciate it. Like the video if you did. comment, and subscribe. Yes, I like criticism because you know what, it helps you to grow just as though Naruto is being a douche for not understanding that Boruto is the exact replica of him. But you know what? Next week again. Thank you guys.